Good morning, everyone. It's Friday. I have my running stuff on because I keep thinking that if I just put this on, I'll get outside and I'll be a little more motivated. So I'm not letting myself get out of these clothes until I actually get outside and either run or just go on a walk doing something simple. Because today we're in day 2 of the accountability group. And I know a lot of you are watching these videos later on. So I'm so encouraged by you and I'm glad you're here. And together we are going to get through this season that at least the next 60 days healthier than when we came in, because that's the goal. Like I've been saying, historically speaking, when we go into these hard seasons and these overwhelming seasons that are really stressful, it is a time where we grow and we tend to get stronger, but it's also a time when we tend to get more unhealthy. So yesterday was the first day I gave the entire lesson about a thriving versus surviving and how so many of us just live over in the surviving mode and we question why when we do all these good things, why it doesn't work. Like if you're eating the perfect diet and exercising and you're not seeing the results that you want to see, it could be that your body is literally just trying to survive. So all of the tips that I'm going to give you are going to try and push you back over to this thriving mode so that our body can release and it can get rid of and not hold on to all these toxic things that it wants to in times of survival. So if you haven't yet, you should go over to my homepage, simplerootswellness.com, sign up for the accountability group. Really all it is to get these handouts, 5 to thrive, the 5 things that we're focusing on in this challenge. So trying to every day have some soul care, movement, more veggies, screen curfew, and one self-care activity a day. I'm always under the belief that it's better to add to your life than it is to take away or to restrict. Because what we know about behaviors and taking away and restricting is it never ends well. So instead of focusing on maybe all these bad habits that you've gotten yourself into or all the excess food that you've been eating, I mean, we all kind of have in this season. Let's just start focusing on what good things can we do and can we add? Because it's in adding and fixating on the good that naturally the bad just kind of weeds itself out. Also, along with that, you'll get this daily planning page. You know that I love a good planner. I think organization and understanding and having a good plan is actually one of the best ways to meet your goals, to do the things, to create new rhythms in your life. I think so often we just don't have a great understanding or grasp of what we're doing in the daily basis or what we're going to eat that it becomes overwhelming. And there's nothing worse than being hungry and not knowing what you're going to eat. That often leads to just binging on whatever's convenient, like the bag of chips in your pantry. So learn from experience, learn from myself that it is good to have a plan. Now we're going to talk about hydration here in a second because it is on this daily planning page and I've filled mine out today and I use a bigger planner. Like this is not something that's going to replace a planner or your Google Calendar or whatever it is. This is simply just more accountability for you to write in, okay, what are some things today that I want to focus on? Because again, in the season of nothing feels normal, nothing feels good, everything's a little bit uncertain, creating normalcy to your life, creating a plan and schedule for you to follow really does help verge the gap and get you back into normal, get you back into doing something that's healthy for you, but it also helps keep your focus less on the anxiety producing thoughts and more on, okay, what are the few things that I actually can control and fixating there. It also forces or allows you to understand where you need to schedule time. So on this planning page, I obviously have all of those 5 to thrive. Like I have a space for soul care, like what did you learn and doing some reading and praying. What is your one focus that you want today? Don't focus on everything. Just pick one thing that you want to focus on. Writing out meals, which I'm going to talk about in a second, hydration, to-do lists for home and work, and then just if you want to schedule out your day, like here's a little schedule. It doesn't mean I'm going to follow it exactly, but at least it helps you create boundaries. And boundaries are so important in these times to set boundaries and stick to them. So one thing before we get into hydration, I do want to take a note of this little section right here. Now you can see today, this is mine. It's already filled out. Now the reason that in the season and in periodic seasons I do this, I write out ahead of time, like in the morning, this is what I'm going to eat today. Now this can feel really like a diet trap, and I do not want that at all. I don't do this all the time. It's not even to say that I have to eat from this. But what I think happens when we write out what we're going to eat, one, it takes the decision away. I think there's a lot of decisions we're trying to make, and there's a lot of stories and loops we're trying to close in our brain right now. Adding decisions to our health, they kind of take the back burner, right? And so I don't want to get to lunch and feel like I'm starving, but I don't know what I'm going to eat. For me, it's better in these seasons and in periods where I feel like I've kind of gotten out of control, or I don't really have any good plan, or I've definitely not been eating what I normally would, things to make me feel good. I will go through a phase where I write out what I'm going to eat, and then I try to only eat that. So it's not to dictate how much I can eat, but again, it just gives me a good plan. It makes sure that I'm focusing on what is good. So I know I wrote a Cobb salad for lunch. Like I know I'm going to put together a salad for lunch. Therefore, I know I'm going to get my veggies in for the day. The same thing goes for supper. Like I know we're going to have green beans with Italian beef sandwiches, which we got those to go, so that's really fantastic, but I'm going to make some green beans with it. You don't have to do this. This is not intended to be like a diet, but there is a lot of research behind eliminating decisions and just setting those, right? So in the moment when you're weak and you're tired and you're hungry, you don't have to make the right decision. It's already been made ahead of time. Now, will you stick to it 100%? No, but it definitely does help. So I've been doing this for a little while, just after the first initial week when I felt like I was eating everything in sight. Like I'd bought double the amount of food that I normally buy, and then it felt like we were eating double the amount of food. Like it wasn't allowing us to stock up. So anyways, I started doing this, and it's been really helpful just to keep my mind focused on, okay, this is what I'm going to eat. My body's prepared for that, and we do it. Now, what I really want to talk to you about today is hydration. And this is going to be your tip. So a lot of people believe that, and I even wrote it on here. This is the biggest mistake I have on here, is I wrote water. Hydration is not just simply about drinking straight water. So many people hate water. It doesn't taste good. And in fact, straight water by itself is actually not as nourishing as one would believe. Yes, we are mostly water. Like that's what we're made up of, right? You hear that all the time. Water is critical. It's more important than food. Yes, all of those things are very true. But water by itself is not always the healthiest thing, meaning that straight H2O cannot be utilized inside of our body. It has to have electrolytes in order for it to actually be hydrating. So what I see is I often see a lot of people who are drinking a lot of water, but not truly hydrating their body. There's a lot of reasons behind this, but like I said, generally speaking, there's just a wrong mix of electrolytes. And what happens when we overdrink too much water is that we can kind of waterlog our body, and it can dilute down your bloodstream, and it makes things harder to digest. So just to give you an example of this that is a little bit more practical and tangible to actually feel, a lot of people drink a lot of water before mealtime. Now, it seems like, right, it's the time when you sit down to drink or to eat is the time you start to think about, oh, I haven't had much to drink today, so I'm going to drink. Especially when you're at restaurants, which we're not going to right now, but it's easy to just drink and guzzle right before mealtime. But what happens when we put a lot of water in before we eat our food is our body's preparing to eat. So it's starting to release digestive enzymes and digestive juices and different kinds of enzymes and hormones. And when we put a lot of water into our stomach, it becomes waterlogged. It dilutes down the digestive enzymes so that when we go to eat, your stomach can't digest that food as well, and it can't reach the certain acidity that it needs to dump into the intestines. So that food sits there and it doesn't get digested well. It can cause heartburn, it can cause bloating and gassiness, just simply because it's not able to do the job that it's supposed to because water has diluted it down. You might experience this as sloshing in your stomach. I don't know what other way to describe it, but if you've guzzled a lot of water, you probably feel it like sitting in your stomach, almost kind of sloshing around. We want to drink water and plenty of it, but the right way to drink is definitely more important than how much you are actually drinking. In fact, there's no known research about the 8x8 rule, meaning you have to drink 8 ounce glasses of water a day. I mean, yeah, maybe there is some thought that drinking half your body weight in ounces is a great idea, but again, how we're doing this matters more than just what we're drinking. Because I've met a lot of people who drink a lot of water and they're actually more unhealthy than people who are just drinking adequate amounts. Like drink when you're thirsty and nothing more. So with that being said, what does that look like, right? I'm not telling you that thirst is and hydration is not important. It definitely is. But just drinking straight water is not for everyone, right? Sometimes the best things that we can do is to put some lemon water in that, or some lemon juice in that, or float some oranges, or have a herbal tea. All of these compounds help that water to develop or to contain those electrolytes that your body then can use to get it into the cells so that it actually is hydrating and not just waterlogging. So it's not about having clear urine. That generally means you've just diluted everything down, right? It's about having a nice color, not over drinking, but drinking the right amount in the right way. And generally speaking, your body's going to tell you when you need to drink. Now, with that said, I do have a tracker on here because if you're like me in times of stress, I feel like I could almost dehydrate myself a little bit. And so I do want to make sure that I'm focusing on drinking, because if you aren't drinking enough, the next best place to get hydrated is through food. And so you will have cravings for hunger, and you can have hunger-induced thirst, is just simply because your body's trying to get some hydration that it needs to function. So it is important to drink, but it's important to drink in the right way. So one tip with hydration is don't guzzle a bunch of liquids before you eat your food. In nature, animals always eat before they get a drink. They rarely ever drink and then eat. Like if you watch your dog, he's never going to lap down his water bowl before he eats his food. So this is technically the intended design of all beings, right? Is that we consume our food and then we drink. So technically we want to do the majority of our drinking outside of mealtime. Yes, you're going to have to drink during mealtime to kind of help digest that, but it's definitely not guzzling beforehand. So making sure you're getting plenty of fluids in between meal times is going to help. But the second tip I want to give you is also that you need to be adding something to your fluids at least a couple times a day. Now, I'm not talking about artificial sweeteners or lemonades or all these different drink mixes. I'm talking about something real, even if it's a pinch of salt. That is what our body needs in order to absorb and to utilize the beverage that you are drinking. So adding some lemon water, like lemon water first thing in the morning, is probably one of the easiest and most well-known health tip, or one of the most well-known free health tips that you could do. But just having lemon water all day long, floating some oranges or even some basil or mint in your water can help, adding a pinch of salt. But another thing that I really like is herbal teas. So a lot of people think it has to just be water to be hydrating. That isn't true. Like I said, actually most people are getting the majority of their hydration if they're eating a healthy diet from food, because the food contains all the electrolytes and necessary nutrients for your body to use that water and use that hydration. And so we are getting a lot, and that's why it's really important to eat a healthy diet. But with that being said, if we're not getting a ton from food, right, we can use herbal teas to hydrate ourselves. So teas are a great hydrating beverage. They come with a lot of other compounds and nutrients that your body helps to use it. Now, on the flip side, I always get asked, what about coffee? Because everyone loves coffee. Technically, coffee or the caffeine in the coffee is acting as a diuretic. There's a lot of debate in this field on whether coffee is hydrating or whether it's not. The short story is that caffeine in general is prohibiting some things from happening inside your body. Like there's a good aspect that it can give you energy and it can help focus your attention. But the bad side is it can help, or it can allow nutrients to leach out of your system. It can cause your hormones to kind of get out of balance, and it can cause water to also leach out of your system. So I say if you want coffee, just have a cup or two. Don't rely on it all day long. Like it can't be marked off as your hydrating beverage. Herbal teas can. Black tea kind of falls in the same category as coffee, is where it has more caffeine load. It just tends to not be as well as herbal teas. So I hope that clears the air. The other thing about hydration that I want to be clear on is that sugar, when we contain beverages with a lot of sugar, in order to be absorbed into the body, it needs water. So it pulls water actually out of your body and into your intestines to absorb the sugar. So with that being said, when people drink a lot of electrolytes or like Gatorades or trying to get those electrolytes in the sugar, telling you that it's actually hydrating, it's actually not. It's dehydrating. Therefore, you want to drink more of it. Like it's a great marketing scheme, right? Because the bottles of Gatorade have gotten bigger and bigger because it's actually dehydrating your body. In some effect, the electrolytes are probably making people feel better. But the sugar itself and the amount of sugar they're putting in those products is actually doing more harm than the electrolytes are doing good. So it's far better if you really need an electrolyte drink, if you're feeling sick or something like that. There's tons of homemade versions of electrolyte drinks online. Mostly it has to do with 100% pure fruit juice, maybe a little bit of honey and some salt inside of water. That is really how you would make a true homemade electrolyte drink. But in general, just for hydration purposes, I think it's important that you know that you don't have to just drink straight water. If you don't like it and it doesn't make you feel good, it's probably not great for your body. That doesn't mean we shouldn't hydrate. So I want to be clear that hydration is not just straight water. Hydration can look like lemon water. It can look like putting some oranges or something in your water. That is seriously delicious. And you can refill that multiple times throughout the week before you actually change out that fruit or those vegetables or whatever you want to float in there. But that is actually really good. You could also add a teeny tiny pinch of salt to your glass of water or to your tea or to your lemon water, and that will also help. And the other hydrating thing is just eat more real foods because real foods contain all the nourishment that you need in order to utilize that. So today over on the blog, I actually list 6 herbal immune boosting teas. So these are some teas that I use, whether warm or iced, that can really benefit the immune system and your hormonal flow and everything in between. So I list those out. Today I'm drinking a matcha tea. I don't do this every day, but there is one that I really love and my kids especially love. It's called Nettle Tea. I don't know if anyone's heard of it or tried it, but Nettle Tea is so beneficial. It's one of the herbal teas that contains some of the most medicinal properties to it, meaning that it helps detoxify your body. It provides loads of antioxidants. Like there are just so many healthy properties to Nettle's tea. The cool thing about a lot of herbal teas is that unlike taking a vitamin or a mineral where there's toxicity levels to that, it really is hard to get to a toxic level of an herbal tea, right? And so it allows these compounds to get into your body in the right way, in a natural way, but it's not like popping a pill where you could actually induce some toxicity to that. Now, I'm not saying everyone, all herbal teas are safe for everyone. That's not what I'm saying. But the ones I have listed on the blog are generally safe for everyone, and especially Nettle tea. I give it to my kids. I drink it myself. It feels so good. Anyways, that's your lesson on hydration. Oh, and I didn't answer the question. Is caffeine hurting your immune system? So the answer is yes. There's more complicated answer to that involving some no, but generally speaking, yes, caffeine is actually decreasing your immune response inside of your body. Again, because a lot of times caffeine is pulling nutrients. So it's taking away from the micronutrient profile of your body to utilize the caffeine and detoxify the caffeine out of your body. So caffeine in general is technically lowering your immune system. Also, like hormonally speaking, if anyone is having hormonal issues, one of the big things that often is told in fixing hormonal problems is to go on a caffeine detox. Now, that's not easy. It's not what you want to hear, especially in the midst of staying home and being around your kids and all the things, right? Like there just feels like another level. But these are the times, again, when we could try and experiment with other hydrating beverages that maybe have minuscule amounts of caffeine or a different form of caffeine that is actually not as damaging. So the problem with caffeine in coffee and even black tea and energy drinks, especially energy drinks, is that it's a fast form of caffeine. So it gets absorbed into the body and it's utilized really, really quickly. Where herbal teas do sometimes have some levels of caffeine, especially matcha, but the compound of caffeine is different. And so it's released much slower in the body. So it gives you a more even energy flow, not the extreme high and then the low. Susan asks, what about decaf tea and coffee and coconut water? So I'm fine with decaf tea and decaf coffee. Now, the process in which they use, or the process in which they make coffee and tea decaf is a chemical process. And so some people feel like the caffeine is better than the chemical process that it goes through. That's why I like the naturally like more caffeine free, or the compounds in tea that are different form of caffeine, the slower acting caffeine than the coffee. But if you wanted coffee in general, I just say like 1 or 2 cups. Like we don't need a whole pot, or we don't need to rely on it all day long, and trying to do it in the morning so that coffee can get out of your system. Like coffee has a really long half-life. Like it can stay in your system for a day, right? Like it's a long time. That's why it's important to drink it in the morning so that your hormones can still flush it out and you can release melatonin so that you can sleep deeply at night. Coconut water is very hydrating. It really does contain it contains the electrolytes and the perfect amount of sugar, and that for your body to utilize that to really rev the cells and give them the adequate amount of energy they need. So coconut water is a really, really great source. Now, if you're buying coconut water from the store, you just have to be careful because a lot of coconut water brands are adding ingredients to it. So you want to get true 100% pure coconut water, nothing added to it. So just because it says coconut water at the store doesn't mean that's the only ingredient in it. So just pay attention that they're not adding more sugar or something like that. I personally don't love coconut water plain, but I will add it to smoothies, or add, like if one of the kids is sick or one of us is under the weather, we will get coconut water and add it and make like a little fruit smoothie, and that seems to be really nourishing and so easy on the digestive system. That's the thing about hydration, is when we just drink water, it can be hard on the digestive system. And so adding a little bit of something to it really will make a difference. And I hope it will make you want to drink more. Now, I always get asked the question about essential oils. Or am I familiar with, I always forget how to say it, tea chino? Yes. So that's more of like the herbal, I think it's more of like the herbal tea. I can look it up quick. But it's supposed to taste very similar. Yes, very similar to coffee. But it's herbal coffee and herbal teas. Yes, definitely. Like if you like that, some of those like coffee-like flavors, like I have some dandelion root listed on as a very good immune boosting tea. That is really similar to a coffee taste. Maybe not quite as bitter, but it definitely has that herbal taste. So that's like dandelion root would be like an herbal coffee. And so yes, those are great substitutes if you like that flavor. Now my sister's a huge coffee lover and she did not like tea chino. Is that how you say it? I'm not even sure. But she has done the caffeine detox and it really has helped numerous aspects of her. I won't tell her story because I didn't ask her to, but maybe sometime I will share that. Oh, and I was going to talk about, I don't remember. There was one thing I was going to talk about before I got into that. Anyways, yeah. So, print the guides, right? Fill this out. Even if you don't stick to it perfectly, at least keeps you aware of what you should be focusing on, or keeping you focus on good things, on healthy things, and not necessarily all the negativity and the chaos. Because sometimes when we get into chaos and we get ourselves more confused, we can become more paralyzed to doing anything. And so, like I said, all of this stuff, even hydrating well, helps your body to thrive. And when we're thriving, we're releasing, we're energized, we're feeling good, our immune system is working really well. It's whenever we're just in survival mode. So even the stress of the time today can push our body into survival mode, and that dampers our immune system, right? Everything it tends to be on alert, and the energy flow isn't there, and it just heightens everything, and it really does exhaust our body in some way, and that's what we want to try and prevent. Does anyone have any other questions for me? If you're listening later, please just leave them below and let me know if you have any other questions. Check out the blog post. I'll link it up here of some different teas. I personally, I love matcha. I love peppermint tea. Echinacea is so healing, but I'm especially partial to Nettle Tea. So check that out over on the blog. Has anyone ever had Nettle Tea? Nettle Tea is like kind of like a peppermint green tea maybe. It's like a little bit of a cooling effect. I like it iced or cool. I'll also drink it warm. I just like it. But my kids really like it a lot. It's pretty mild in flavor. It's really good. Yeah, so Nettle Tea, just to kind of tell you before I jump off here what you do. So you would buy Nettle's tea in bulk or Nettle's leaf in bulk. You can probably get it in the tea bag too, where you can just steep it. But Nettles is really great if you don't have the tea bag. So any kind of loose leaf tea is always going to be better than the bag tea, just simply because I think the bags are actually holding in some of the compounds that you would otherwise leach into the water that you would be able to drink. It depends on the particle size and how fine mesh those tea bags are. But I prefer loose leaf Nettles tea, and what I do is I just add a couple tablespoons or a quarter cup of Nettles tea to like a quart jar. I pour boiling water over it, and then I just let it sit all day long or overnight. So you want to make Nettles tea the day before you're going to drink it, preferably. You don't have to, but the longer you let Nettles steep, the more benefit you're going to get from it. So if you think ahead, I don't always, sometimes we just steep it and then we drink it that day. That's totally fine. But if I'm thinking ahead, and the better way is to steep it in water for like 12 or 24 hours and then strain that off. So if you have a fine mesh strainer or a tea strainer, strain that off, and then you can dilute the tea down with some water if you want to split it, because the longer you steep it, the more potent it's going to be. I prefer, I just like that in general. But sometimes I'll just drink the whole quart jar of that Nettles tea, and that will be the majority of my hydration for the day. I really like it. Frontier has a great brand of Nettle tea that you can buy on Amazon, but any grocery store, like Natural Grocers has a bulk section. They sell Nettles leaf. A lot of places do. So anyways, any other questions? So this is day 2. Today, we're just going to focus on staying hydrated, trying a few new things out. More than anything, I just want you to try and experiment with a few new things. Maybe add a pinch of salt to your water, or cut up an orange and put in, or squeeze some lemon juice and just let that roll. Oh, I remember. A lot of people want to add essential oils to their water. There's huge debate about this. And my take is that while I do think in some situations there are some essential oils that are hard on the digestive tract, I want to say they're super healing to the body. I love essential oils. I think they're super healing. But there is some thought and some research out there that essential oils are harming our gut bacteria. It's not something that traditionally, necessarily, we would ingest every single day. Once in a while, not a big deal. Every day. Now, there's a lot of debate about that. My rule is that yes, I love some essential oils in my water. I love to give it flavor, but I still want to add an electrolyte, because the essential oils don't contain the electrolytes, and that's what your body needs. And so if you're going to add that, make sure you realize that you still need to add an electrolyte. Even if you're adding lemon essential oils, add a little bit of fresh lemon juice to that, or just like a pinch of salt to help your body to process that. That's my take on it. You can do your own research. It's all over the board. But that's my take on it. If you eat a really healthy diet, do you need to focus on the electrolytes as much? Definitely not. But I do feel like it feels better. That's all I can say is lemon water feels better than a glass of regular water. Your body's going to absorb that and use that much differently. And that's really what we need to focus on. So anyways, any other questions? I'll stay in for a couple more minutes if you guys have any other questions. Otherwise, I'll be back on tomorrow. Tomorrow, we're going to do a little bit more planning, and I'm going to show you how I plan for the week ahead with meals and batch cooking, and kind of get our feet under us for another week. Anything else? Well, thank you so much for tuning in to another video for day 2. Pick one thing, just one thing today that you want to focus on, and just do the next loving thing for your body. Even if that means you sit in running clothes all day, you attempt it, right? No, actually, it's important to get outside. So anyways, that's it for today. I will be back here tomorrow morning at 8:30 with another accountability challenge for you. It's going to be all on planning. So if you haven't gotten these papers, that one, and then it also comes with the 5 to Thrive. So 5 things we're going to focus on. Head over to SemperaTsWellness.com, click on the 60-day accountability challenge, and you will get those. You're not going to get bombarded with a ton of emails. You will be on my regular email list where I send out generally just 1 email a week. But all the information will be right here on Facebook and on Instagram. So follow me at both places and we can stay in contact. You guys have a great day. Happy Friday.